Hi, I'm Theresa Bromm-Boesen, and this is beginning basketry. This is our third basket video, so I'm pretty excited about this. I'm going to show you our tools first that we're going to use today, and then I'm going to go into explaining about these baskets that I have next to me. So the tools that you're going to need for this particular basket are you're going to have to have measuring tools. You can use this type of measuring tool or this type of measuring tool. Either one works fine. I always tend to use this because I sort of like that I can just pull it out. It stays kind of stiff. It doesn't bend, and so that works for me. This tool is very important. It's called a bead buddy. These are our bead tools. Maybe some of you who do beading will recognize these. This is a bead buddy clipper, and this kind of cuts the reed without bending it. I much prefer it to a scissor. I really don't ever use a scissor, just this tool. So it's a great little tool. You can get it at Michael's or a craft store. This is a round nose plier. We may use or may not use this if we need to make a little space for tucking reed down, if we choose to do that. We'll see how that goes. I haven't decided about that one yet. And then this is an essential tool, how we're going to begin to bend the spokes in an upward position called upsetting. This will squeeze that reed, and then you can bend it straight up. And so that's a handy tool. So we need to have that. At the end of our basket, I'm going to show you two different ways to finish this basket today. So the choice will be yours. And it will either be a rolled edge, which is this edge. It's all tucked in, you know, nice and neat. That's one kind of edge. And then this is sort of an open border edge. I leave it open. I think it looks a little more lacy, especially with this basket. And then we're going to just cut that, you know, probably an inch all the way around when we're done. So I'll show you all that. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the basket class. These are my soaking buckets, and this is where I soak my reed. For this particular basket, I really want you to soak your reed well, make it flexible. It shouldn't be mushy or soft. Particularly, this one here is going to be the base. These are the spokes, and I'm using a heavier reed for those spokes. I'm using a number 4 reed, so we want to make sure that's flexible. Your water temperature should be tepid, not hot, not cold, but something in between. And don't soak colored reed in with natural reed. So this is all my natural reed, and this is my colored reed. So we're going to begin our basket today. I'm going to show you the spokes in just a moment, but what I wanted to show you right now is I wanted to show you that this basket with the blue is sort of a straight up and down design, whereas this one, as you can see, the top kind of flares out. And so that depends on how much pressure you put on the reed, whether you want a straight up top or whether you want a flared top will depend on how much pressure you put on your reed. So we're going to talk about that as we go, and I'm going to be explaining that for you. What I want to tell you first of all is that soaking your reed is going to be very important, especially with these spokes. These are number 4 spokes, and I'm going to wrap right now with a number 2 reed. So I have a placeholder which I use, which is just a little bit of a pipe cleaner, and sometimes I just call them caterpillars because I cut them in these little short sections so I can keep my reed in place. Okay, when you get your kit, it's going to look like this, okay? This is going to be the inside of your basket. Where this reed, number 2 reed, is poking out, that's going to be the inside of your basket. So for now, you're going to be facing the outside of your basket, and you're going to have attached to that a long number 2 reed. The first thing you need to do is you need to measure. So you're going to measure from the center, and you're going to go all the way out until you hit 10 inches on all sides. So that's what I do. So before we begin the next stage of this, I want to be sure that you have an art apron that you're putting on to keep your clothing dry. And also I want to be sure that you're working on a floor that is sweepable, a sweepable surface that can take water. You don't want to do this on carpet because a lot of this reed is dyed and it will indeed dye your carpet. So you don't want to take any chances with that. So find yourself a good place that you have a sweepable surface, and that's going to be a good place to work. All right, now you're going to turn this toward you. I'm going to adjust a little bit. All right. I'm going to pull this back out here, and I'm going to start to separate my reed. One of the things I've done with this basket is I've given us 5 different spokes here for the inside and 4 for the outside. Now you may have one where you have that opposite, and don't worry. There are basically 9 spokes on this basket. And the reason I did that is so that the basket is sturdier and that we have a tighter edge when we get finished. I wanted to try that and show you how to do that. So now that I've got this one right here, I'm going to take my second one. This is also in your kit, of course. This is a number 2 reed. And you know, this reed is a plant from Indonesia. I don't know if I told you that, but this grows to up to 300 feet long. So this is kind of amazing. And then they clean it up and they prepare it for market. And then that's how we buy it. Now we're going to begin our basket. And because I have 9 spokes, we're going to divide this right up front here. We're going to take 2, 2, 2. We have 2 here, and then we're going to pull that 1 to the side and 1 to the side opposite it, just like that. Okay? We check to make sure we've come around 4 times on this wrap, and we have, so we're good to go. This is coming over too, so I'm going to put this one to the right of that. I'm going to just hold it. You can see I'm just holding it with my finger on the other side. Okay? And I'm going to wrap 2, and then I'm going to wrap 1. So I'm going to go over under right there like that. Now I'm coming around to another 2, so I'm going to wrap 2 over under, pulling from the left, over under another 2. Okay, pull it toward the center. Make sure your reed is wet. You can let go of that now because that's pretty locked in there. I'm going to pull that tight. We've got another 2. I'm going to go over under. This will get tangled up, so you got to keep untangling it. Okay. Another pair to wrap. Oh. I know it gets kind of confusing at first because it starts to tangle a little bit. So hold on 1 second. Get yourself straightened out here. There you go. Okay, over there, we're going to go over under this one. You have to keep loosening these 2 up here. It's okay. You can see over under like that. Pull it tight. Now we've got the 1 on that side. It goes over these 2. It's gonna go under that. There we go. Now we're on a roll. And then we've got these 2. Gonna start to spread it like the spokes of a wheel. Another 2. Pull it toward the center. Another 2. Another 2. You can see that guy's jumping back up. Get him back there. Okay, keep him to the back because we're almost around the entire time, right? All right. So now we've come around. This is what it should look like, okay? So it should look like that, all right? This is the back where you've got these pokies hanging out there in the back. You're gonna flatten everything. We've measured, so we know we're all good. I actually even measured again before I started to do this. Make sure you're 10 inches out on each side. All right. Now this method that I'm using to wrap is called randing. It's very simple. This basket, even though it looks a little complicated because it's got different sections, it's got 4 different sections on it, the wrap is not difficult. This is a simple basket. So you're gonna go over under, and we're just randing this, which is just a simple basic weave. Anytime during this process, if your reed is getting dry, you stick it back in your soaking bucket. Give it a few minutes, walk away, get a cup of coffee, come on back, and it'll be ready to work with. My reed is getting dry, so I'm gonna put it in the water for a minute. And you've got it wrapped really well now, so nothing's gonna come undone. Just go ahead and stick it in. Okay, my reed is wet. We're back in business. I'm gonna keep doing this method right here out until I hit 3.5 inches for this base, because this is gonna be my base. 3.5 to 4, I'm gonna take a look at it. Okay, I have now created my base. I've measured out, it's about 3.5 inches. It could go just a drop more. Yeah, I think I will. I think I'll go just a couple more to 3.5, and then we are gonna turn a corner here. Okay, that looks pretty darn good. Let me try it this way. Whoop. Try it this way. Pretty good. So we've been working on this side. This is the outside of our basket. We are flipping it over now, okay? We're going to still work from left to right as we always have, which means this is going to be at the top, okay? This is gonna be at the top. I've measured out 3.5 inches across. I'm good to go. I'm gonna tie these off for just a minute. I'm gonna take my flat pliers, they're flat on the inside, and we're gonna bend this toward us, making sure that we're on the correct side. This is the inside of our basket. How do we know? Because we have these little pokey things on the inside, okay? We're gonna bend these in, bend in, bend in. Squeeze and bend. Can you see that little mark right there? I don't know if you can see that mark. That means we've bent it in. It's a little weaker right there in that area. So this is going to get a little tricky for just a little while. So bear with me, but this is the best way to do it, to get them to stand up. You're going to actually work from the inside of the basket now, okay? And every time you go in and out of these spokes, And we're gonna still do it in the same way that we wrapped it. The 2, the 2, the 2, the 1. We're still gonna do that right now, okay? But we're gonna bend it toward us as we go, all right? Bending it in, okay? We're bending it in. All right, over, under, over, under. Push it down also with the back of your hand. Push it down, bend it in. All right. And you can see I'm just holding it in because I want to be very purposeful. This is the most important part right here. Because normally we're working outside the basket, and we will be very soon, but we're crossing over, we're going here, over, under. Can you see the cross? Yep, there you go. Over, under, hold it in. All right, we've made it around once, and we're about to do it again. So here we go, one more time around. Over, under, pushing it down. Now you notice how flat the bottom of this basket is going to be. So that's a little different than we've done before. Sometimes we just bend it gently around, but this time we're really making a nice flat bottom on it. Once we get around 2 or 3 times, we're gonna go to the outside of the basket, because I know this part takes a lot of concentration. You really have to pay attention to what you're doing here. Okay, because you're working to the inside of the basket, which is unusual. We don't usually do that. But we're making progress. You can see they're standing up. Right now you can sort of see they're standing up all by themselves. So the upsetting is working well. Just don't get upset when you're doing it. If your spokes are standing up very nicely like mine are, and we hope they are, you're going to take a minute, you're going to tie this off. Not too hard, just get it out of the way. So if it's sitting like that, push this down so your basket has a really nice base. Your little pokies are on the inside. Right now would be a good time to cut those. You can cut those down a little bit. They don't have to be so long. Okay, there. You're gonna soak this basket for a minute. Make sure you put it right back in the water. We've taken our little basket back out of the water. It's nice and flexible. Okay. There's the bottom, looking good. Everything looks fine. There's the bend. All right, everything looks great. So now I'm gonna take you back to the outside of the basket. I know that was a little stressful being inside the basket, but I think you did a good job. So now we're gonna go outside, we're gonna flip it, and we're gonna put the bottom of the basket away from us so that we're continuing to work from left to right. And now we're going to continue in the same way that we have been. Make sure your reed is nice and wet and it's not tangled. And here you go with your number 2 reed. Now you're going around this way. And you're going to start to push in this way, down in as you go around to make sure that this basket stays kind of skinny and tall. You're gonna push it in as you wrap it, push it in. And push it down also, okay? It gets nice and tight. You're always gonna take the reed that's on the right and you're moving it. Excuse me, on the left, whoop, let me redo. The reed that's on the left, you're gonna move it. And the other will follow. This is gonna go over and then under. Okay, the reed on the left is moving to the right. It goes over this one, so it's going to go under this one. And the other will follow over top. Do you see the pressure I'm putting on this? I'm putting it just like that all the way around and making sure that it's working toward the inside. I want to keep this basket from flaring out. I want it to be kind of skinny and tight. Make sure you're pushing this down also, because you're shaping the basket right now. Pick it back up, check it, push it down, lay it on its side again. Okay, I'm gonna sit this up, take a good look at it, make sure it's nice and tight and that it's leaning in, it's not flaring out too much, it's pretty straight up and down. I'm gonna measure this and I'm gonna see how tall it is. It's almost an inch on the bottom there. Well, looking pretty good right now. You can see I'm starting to come to the end of my reed. This one's getting short. So I'm gonna decide at that point if I want to add more. But I think I'm not going to, because I don't want to really go beyond an inch and a half or so. So I'm going to be right around that point. And I think that should be very good for setting the base. This is going to go back behind this one. This is how short it is now. So I'm just going to tuck that right in. And then I'm going to tuck this in and I'm going to cut that off. Let's go right about here. We're gonna give it kind of a long tail so it kind of just sticks right inside there. Okay? So I don't know if you can see this. I just stuck it right in there, just right here. Here they are, inside. Okay? We're just gonna lay them in there for now. I'm gonna push the bottom of my basket. I'm gonna make sure it's nice and solid and it's standing up well. If at a certain point it's rocking, you want to push the middle in like that. Just push that in while the reed is still wet, okay? And it'll give it a more sturdy foundation, okay? Right in the center, just push it, okay? All right, now I'm going to measure this again. What have I got? So I'm good. I have about an inch all the way around. Let me see. Yep, it looks good. Okay. We're going to start to move on to the next section. So I'm going to bring this basket back again so you can see what the next section is. So the next section is going to be multicolored, and that'll be fun to do. All right. Now we're going to get The reed that I gave you, which is a number 3 reed, got 2 different colors, and it looks like that, okay? You'll have different colors than I do, but that will be your next step. I've had it soaking. It's really nice and flexible, thank goodness, because that's what you want for this. Now I'm going to show you once again on these 2 baskets. When I started to wind this one, I made a transition on this. I made a transition. You know, we're not going to make a transition for you guys today. What we're going to do is we're going to start either with the natural reed to the left and the colored reed to the right, or we're going to flip it. That is going to be your choice because you'll get a different pattern, as these 2 are a little bit different pattern. This has the white on the outside, this has the blue on the outside, depending on what you choose to do. That's totally up to you, no problem. So now I'm going to take a look at where I left off. I'm going to make sure that I look real solid here. And I'm going to count from where my bend is. So here's my bend, right? And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me go to the opposite side and see what I've got. All right. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very good. All right. So now we've got 2 different color reeds. One is natural, I'm going to call white. One is brown, okay? We're going to find where we left off. We left off right here, okay? So that's where we left off. I'm going to push those little guys down. All right. We're going to put the white reed, the natural reed, behind there. We're going to put the brown reed behind this spoke right here. So one behind the double, one behind the single. We're going to push that down into place. And now we're going to start in the same process as we've been going, only now we're going to separate. So this is what we're going to do now. We're going to start to separate every time we go around. Same method, we're randing, but now we're separating. Yeah, in between, we're separating the double. Let me get that straightened out. And if it's easier for you ahead of time to separate, go ahead and separate ahead of time. You know, so whatever you need to do, because now we're just gonna wrap 1 spoke at a time. 1 spoke at a time. We're still pushing these spokes in as we go, so that's another thing I want to say. Keep pushing them in as you go. I always like to work with a towel near me because it's a wet craft and you want to be sure that you've protected yourself with an apron and a towel so you don't get all soaking wet. Now I find when I'm at home doing this, I sometimes like to stand up because this stuff really gets tangled up on me sometimes, and it's just nice to kind of be able to just shake it down. By the time you get around 4 times, you're going to start to see a pattern emerging. I want you to see how I'm putting my hand on top of this to push it in. I want to keep pushing those spokes in. I don't want them flaring out. And keep them at a nice distance from one another. Don't let them crowd into each other. Okay, I'm going to take a look at my basket right now. I'm probably going to add another couple of reeds here. Let's see. I'm going to cut these long hairs. I know we've talked about this, but some of this reed really gets kind of hairy. It needs a little haircut. Make sure they're standing up nice and straight. Every once in a while you'll have somebody that wants to stick out sideways, so move them in. Wet your basket if you have to. Very important. So you can see now the pattern that's emerging from doing this. All right, so now I'm going to count my rows. You can see the nice pattern that's come from these two separate reeds. One is a pattern to the inside, one is a pattern to the outside. Very pretty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm going to spin it around. Let's see. So you know it's always going to be an extra where we load on here, where we tied it on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, we're going to stop here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we're gonna say A-okay with that. We've got one short, but that's gonna work out for us, and so that's okay. So I'm gonna leave that right here. I'm gonna tuck this behind this one. Make sure your basket is heading straight up. So one of the things that some people do is they actually tie the top of it and then they just do one weave at a time around. I don't tend to do that. I just like to push it on in. So we're gonna push it on in for now, and this basket has become dry. We are now gonna go ahead and soak it again. Okay, we have now finished the two different color reeds, and we're going to do a double reed. I'm going to remind you of what that looks like. Okay, the double reed around, and we're about to do that right now. So this is where I ended. So remember, I found one over here that was 6, so I'm going to go back and find my 6, and I'm going to start my next tie on where my 6 is. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There it is. Okay, I'm using 2 of the colored reed that you have. We're gonna do it as 1. So we're gonna go over 2, under 1. We're gonna start it where we left off, right here. You can see. I'm gonna make this one a little bit longer. Okay. Now we're gonna go over 2, under 1. 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 We're back where we started. And we're gonna do it again. Exact same way. Over 2, under 1. Okay, then we start to flatten it out. So it's really looking like a good band now. Flatten it out, over 2, under 1. So about an inch should be good for you. I'm gonna push this down. About an inch. I'm gonna go over 2 and I'm gonna tuck that inside. And I'm gonna cut that off, but make sure you have a big long tail on it because you wanna make sure you can move it around a little. So this is how it looks. And we're gonna flatten it out as we move along here to make sure it's nice and flat. Looks like a good band around. Now we've got this reed that's been soaking. This is a number 3 reed. And now we're gonna do every other one to lock that in. So I'm gonna set this aside and get this out here. I stopped right about here. I'm gonna pick up from an outside reed. I'm gonna put my natural reed on either side. I'm going to, as usual, lock it down behind those two. But now we're just going to start to weave one at a time. Okay, just like we have for the rest of the basket. We're gonna, and as we're gonna kind of keep it a little loose because it'll give us the opportunity to flatten that band out. You're gonna stand up your spokes now. Make sure they're standing up. Open it up, stand it up straight. Get your spokes straight. Okay, we're almost to the point now. We're right here. We're back around. Okay, at this point, this is when you're gonna go through and you're gonna make sure this is all flat. All right, we're gonna start our second row. Okay, we're working our way around now for the second time. Just sort of the usual randing in and out. putting a little pressure to push in on the spokes right now. They're starting to flare out on me just a little bit, and I don't want them to flare out that much, so. Okay, put a little pressure on those spokes as you're going around now. You're the third time around. Okay, I'm going to take a look at how many rows I have now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. This is my fourth. And this is where we tie it on. So that's always going to just have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to have one more. And then we're going to stop. And we're going to take a look at what we got. I'm going to call that good. I'm going to cut these off. Okay, so now here we are. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sections, and we're done. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go inside and we're gonna clip our long pieces. So if we have long pieces, we're gonna go inside and clean them up. And these are long pieces right here, so we're gonna go ahead and shorten those. I'm gonna shorten those a little bit so they fold in nicely. Okay, and now we are ready to finish the edge of our basket. Okay, so there's our basket. It looks so cute, very nice. And now these are your two options. So you can, we start anywhere, we're all good. We're actually gonna mark this one with one of my little caterpillars. That's where we're gonna start. We're gonna bend this one down. Okay, we're gonna bend this down. I'm gonna show it to you this way. We're gonna bend that, behind, this goes behind, and all the way around, okay? You're gonna keep doing that all the way around. All right, now we've gotten to the last one. This is where we started, right? We're gonna go behind there, and then this one is gonna go in and under that loop right there. All right, and we're gonna press down on it. Press on down. We're gonna take our little caterpillar off because we don't need that marker anymore. Everybody's down, okay? If you like the edge on this basket right here, okay, can you see that edge? If you like the edge on that basket, you're gonna leave it just like this, except now you're gonna take your measuring tape and you're gonna measure out 1 inch right there. You're gonna mark it with your pencil. You're gonna mark that inch with your pencil, and then right there, you're gonna take this and you're gonna cut it off. You're gonna cut it at an angle right there at that mark, okay? So from there, 1 inch, mark it with your pencil. Don't use a pen, just use a pencil, and then cut it off at an angle right where you've marked it, okay? So that's what you're gonna do all the way around. But this basket, I'm gonna show you how to do the rolled edge. So once again, I'm gonna start somewhere. I'll start right here. Just mark it there. Okay, this one is gonna go right in that hole right there. Right in that little hole right there. This one, the next one goes right in the next hole. The next one, into the next hole. Right into the next hole. Push that in. Push it on in. There you go. Pull it down, push it down. Okay. Make sure your reed is wet. Important, because it'll crack if you're not careful. Pull that up. Now, just to tell you that I left almost 4 inches of this at the top of my basket before I did this. So you want to be sure you have 3.5 to 4 inches so you can do this. Okay? Okay, now we've come around again. Here's our little caterpillar. We're right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in through this hole right here, right under there and in. And that is going to lock it in, okay? You're going to push all those down, lock that in. And then you're going to go in and trim. Make sure you've got it locked in really good. Okay, that's a rolled edge. And then you're going to go in with your cutter and you're going to trim all these little edges all the way around. Make sure when you're cutting that you're pulling it away from the basket. You don't want to be cutting into your basket, right? This is your finished edge. Now you can see inside your basket and you can see if there's anything else that you need to do. Any more trimming, you can go inside and trim. And there you go. There is your little basket. So cute. Thank you so much for joining us today in making this tall little basket, and I hope you enjoyed our class and hope to see you again. Thank you so much.